Welcome to the Catholic Table Talk podcast. This is where everything Catholic is on the table. New episodes Thursdays at 9 a.m. Eastern on most podcast platforms. Here's your host, William Sauber.
Conservative priests on the rise. Is it good, bad, or ugly for the Catholic Church? And what is kind of the Church's view of it? And what is my personal opinion of the subject matter? That and much more on this episode of Catholic Table Talk Podcast. Thank you again for joining me on this beautiful Thursday or whichever day of the week you are listening to. We are podcasting on the road on most podcast platforms. Glad to have you back on, and thank you again for your continued support of the show. Make sure to comment, like, subscribe, hit the notification button so you never miss a show on no matter what platform you're listening to. We are newly just got on Amazon Music, so go listen to us on there as well. And thank you for your continued support and share with friends and family. And don't forget to sponsor the show with a sponsorship package, or just support the show. More at catholictt@gmail.com. Again, it's catholictt@gmail.com, the official email of Catholic Table Talk Podcast. Also is a good place to go if you are a show request or a speaker request. So, love to hear and see your emails. Alright, just like the kind of intro said, today we're going to talk about, I'll talk about, since I'm by myself today, so bear with me today if you got a couple more articles to get through today. But conservative priests on the rise and just the Catholic Church, and is this a bad thing or is this not so good thing for the Catholic Church, and what does the Church kind of teach out about this? So I'm going to have about 2 or 3 articles. One is from the Fox News channel or foxnews.com. One is from the Catholic Vote. Those two are pretty short, and then I'll try and do a little bit from the Catholic News Agency. Fox News will start off with is just Catholic, and this has been since the past month and a half now. It's really been coming out of having Catholic priests being more conservative. So I really want to do a show on it. I just have not really sat down besides right now to do the show on it. So and just me myself just trying to think about if the priesthood is the right fit for me still. It's a good thing to kind of look over. But Catholic priests identifying as liberal or progressive have all but vanished from seminaries. Study findings, this is from Fox News. Over 80% of priests ordained since 2020 identify themselves as theologically conservative. And this is from the Fox News, again, flash top headlines. In early November, a comprehensive study polling thousands of Catholic priests found that the new clerics identifying as politically liberal or progressive have all but vanished from seminaries in the United States. The study was produced by the Catholic University of Americas, the Catholic Project, and draws on responses from 141 bishops, over 3,000 priests, and in-depth interviews from over 100 priests. Simply put, the portion of newly priests who see themselves as politically liberal or progressive have been steadily declining since the Second Vatican Council, and now have all but vanished since 2020, since the survey reported. More than half of the priests who were ordained since 2010 see themselves on the conservative side of the scale. The Catholic Project reports no survey priests who were ordained after 2020 describes themselves as very progressive. The new study found that among priests ordained since 2020, over 8% of them identify themselves as conservative or orthodox. This is a sharp contrast to priests ordained before 1960, over 60% of whom identify as progressive or very, very progressive. Political self-identification proved more accommodating to nuanced but still heavily favored conservative beliefs. Roughly 52% of recently ordained priests identify as conservative or very conservative, while 44 describe themselves as moderate. The National Study of Catholic Priests previously released the first portion of the findings in October of 2022, following up that data with a new batch of findings released this past month. The study did not attempt to decipher the cause of study of such drastic changes in priests' ideological framework in recent years, but offered the Second Vatican Council and their views of crisis as washed moments based on clerics' testimony. The causes and consequences of these shifts in America price band are no doubt complex. How dramatic play out in interactions among priests in a given diocese or religious order is beyond the scope of the study, the report states. Which makes sense. You only have a handful of bishops and only barely a handful of priests who did the survey, so yes, it's going to change by diocese and region even. However, interviews suggest that priests themselves view these shifts through the lens of two washed moments: the Second Vatican Council and the clergy sex abuse crisis of 2002. And that is the end of the article, and I just love reading over the comments too. Some of them are kind of like, okay, that's not what, maybe you have people who think, they know everything about the Catholic faith, so they're putting stuff on, and you're like, no, not really, or you got non-Catholic people talking about it, and it's like, okay, but, like one person said, this is a sharp contrast to the priests ordained before 1960. I'm speculating being progressive before 1960 was a lot compared to today. Progressive might have been different meaning prior to 1960, and I would probably agree to that. Progressive may have been a little bit different before 1960 as today. That's that's over how many years ago, decades ago. Another one says, that's probably not surprising, as I imagine from what I see at most churches, the most new priests are coming from outside the U.S. and from countries where oppression was more the norm, which again, yes, you have a lot more priests who English is not the first language, and they have seen more oppression and more just evil in the world than probably the United States priests have. But again, I'll kind of talk about this through the rest of the show, but again, the saying that the church's priests are more conservative does not mean, in the United States, we think of conservative as Republicans and liberal, or maybe more moderate as liberal as Democrats. Moderate is sometimes maybe a mixture of both, or one or the other, or otherwise independent. Just the church teaching it's not really on one political side or the other. It basically has its own version. It's not with the government. It's just the church. And literally that's why. Again, it's not like we pick one side or the other. Oh, it's more conservative. Oh, it's more Republicans. And in today's age, if you're on one side or the other aisle, most of the time you can't really talk politics anymore at the dinner table, or even to just anywhere else, because you have a big argument. But again, that church is reminding us is, hey, it's more conservative doesn't mean that they're Republicans or more moderate. Maybe they're not as much Democrats, but it's more the church, teaching. And the church teachings, if you were to pick one side or the other of the aisle in the United States, it probably would be more Republicans. Just throughout the years, just the conservative side kind of lines. Again, the conservative Republican side kind of lines up more with the church's teaching. But again, it's not Republican because again, the church and the state don't intertwine. They have, and it's ugly outcomes of it. That's where it's really ugly when that happens, but they don't intertwine. So again, saying the priests are more conservative, you're saying, oh, they're more, bad, whatever, Republicans are bad, if people before that were bad, Democrats before that, is okay, maybe, again, please try to put the personal things before them, because they are the priests giving themselves to Christ and His church. And again, the church is not on one side of the island or the other. It's by itself. It's not even connected with the state and government. So, again, that's just what the church teaches. Like, for example, abortion, right? Most people on the left, most people on the Democrats, want abortion. They don't mind abortion. Even a lot of independents don't mind abortion. Quite a few Republicans don't mind abortion. But that's not what the church teaches. So that doesn't mean the church is one side or the other. It's by itself. And that's why, again, especially with election year now coming up, that's just the way that we gotta vote. We gotta vote for the church, not so of what we think of the other people, or like I said, if you're a Democrat, you see this before, you're like, oh, that's conservative. I can't vote white because that's not my beliefs. Well, I hate to say it, but and vice versa. But it's like, I hate to say it, but your beliefs doesn't matter, because again, that's not the what the Catholic Church teaches. So, this one real quickly again is from the Catholic Vote, and basically, and then again, white Catholic Democrats are disappearing though. You thought, before 1960, even though the progressive meaning might seem different, might sound different, might mean different, where have the white Catholic Democrats gone? This is from Catholic Vote again. A recent analysis by scientist Warren Berg showed that the percentage of white Catholics who support the Democrat Party has declined over the past several decades. An article posted to Substack graphs about religion. Berg debunked the common Democrat claim that the white Catholic vote helped Democrats win in recent elections. For example, Democrat strategist Kevin Warnock once penned an open in the Hill claim that President Biden's fellow Catholics helped deliver him to the White House in 2020. But white Catholics used to allowing pretty strongly with Democrats, but that hasn't been the case in the last 4 decades. The myth of the white Catholic Democrat. White Catholics are white of center. Politically, he continued, they favor Republicans over Democrats because, again, just if you're looking at more the parties, what they believe in, what they do this and what they do that, they kind of align more with the church's teaching than the Democrats do. He cited voting statistics that clearly show that white Catholics favor Republican candidates in the vast majority of presidential elections in most Americans' lifetimes. In every election from 1980 through 2020, that's 11 total elections. Quick math right there in the article. The Democrat got a clean majority of the White House Catholic vote in just 2 of them. 2 of 9. Now, okay, I can't really do the math on that, but that's a very low percentage. Clinton's election in 1992 and his re-election in 1996, that was only 2. It was both for President Bill Clinton. In 2004, the white Catholic vote was evenly divided, but an average election during this time period for the GOP's margin of support is usually about 8 points among white Catholics. White Catholics lean toward the Republican on election day, and that's not just a modern phenomenon. I would argue that after looking at this, it would be fair to say that the white Catholic vote has been a point of strength for the GOP since 1972, with a few minor exceptions. For Dr. Borges' resource, Catholic Democrat John F. Kennedy won 82% of the white Catholic vote in 1960. His Republican opponent, Richard Nixon, won only 17%. Just 12 years later, Nixon won the white Catholic vote by a landslide margin of 63 over 47 from his opponent, George McGovern. In the 2020 election, President Donald Trump carried the demographic by 12 points over Biden, a self-possessed Catholic. Dr. Borg also pointed out that when Nixon overwhelmingly won among white Catholics in 1972, 67% of cohort were registered as Democrats, and only 21% being Republicans. Today, only 36% of white Catholics are registered as Democrats. Meanwhile, the percentage of white Catholics who are Republicans have more than doubled to 44%. If anything, I think there's evidence that the white Catholics will continue to grow around the GOP. He cited a study showing the nearly a non-existent percentage of recently ordained Catholic priests describe themselves as liberal or progressive. CBS News called Dr. Porges one of the country's leading data analysts on religion and politics. He is also a Baptist pastor. So non-Catholic, he's a Baptist pastor. And again, I mean, people in the comments are like, oh, I changed my party as soon as I heard, that people are promoting social agenda and, they're avoiding the socialist agenda by the Democrats and this and that. Oh, I was on this side, now I change. Again, the church is not on one side or the other, because it's not on either side. It's by itself. It's just, again, especially very recently, it was more Democrats that have just been leaning more and more away from the church, and Republicans have not. And just basically throughout history, you see that same thing. I mean, the white has more things than the left, but again, the church is in between, has its own mind and its own. Again, it's not white versus left, it's one versus it's white versus wrong and white versus evil here. And that's what, again, socialist, communism, and abortion is today. So again, and again, like just listening to Father Mike Schmitz on the Catechism in the year, and even Bible in the year. I mean, just listen to it again. The church, and even listen to a priest's homily. I listened to this past weekend. Again, people think the church is with the state or with the government, and it's not supposed to be. It shouldn't be. It's not. It doesn't work well when it is, but most people don't think that. And again, like Father Mike Schmitz says, the Catholic priest's job, he's not obligated to speak out against abortion or against whatever else that one political side might be pushing. He can do it if he sees fit, and I mean, he's being a true disciple. He's living off the faith. He's not. I mean, you have your own private, like Father Mike says, you have your own private life with Jesus, your own private, kind of, I'm Catholic, I'm leaving this to myself, but you also should have a public life, too, about living the faith, and that's why I really love priests who come out, talk about, defending, full life and everything else. But again, they're not obligated to do that. It's their choice, but, I mean, again, most of them, or all of them should. And again, it's, the government and the state's not, the state and the church is not together. They can't be together. And a lot of, even, you have your hardcore Democrats and Republicans who are Catholics say, I've been this for this party, I'm just going to stay with this party, no matter who's in office, no matter who's getting elected, who's winning, I'm just voting for this party. And again, with election year coming up again, you gotta take you always take your Catholic value views before any political views. And yeah, and like I said, I mean, you gotta be caught up in the news, and again, and basically, when I took a seminary visit last spring, I kind of felt like talking with all the seminarians, that, like, how do you guys stay up to date with the news? How do you guys, do you guys know what's going on in the world? Like, you guys have just seemed, very confined to this very seminary life. Like, do you know what's going on? Like, I could put my phone and we get you one down if you want. But, truthfully, I mean, they have a pretty good idea, I think, of what's going on in the world, and they should to have a better understanding of it, so when they become priests, they can guide the flock, the congregation, the way the church needs them to lead it. So, yeah, that makes sense. I guess just kind of wrapping up the show here. I mean, almost out of time. Again, this is from the Catholic News Agency. I'm not going to do the whole thing because it has been a lot of kind of overlap, but I'm going to do a couple of things. Again, progressive priests going extinct is one of the kind of the content chapters here in this article, I guess you could say. The report shows a significant divide between the political and theological of older priests versus younger priests. And again, it shouldn't be about, well, I'm with them because, that was a long time ago. I'm with the Republicans now. Again, it's the church's view, and basically whoever has the more church's teaching is probably the way they're going to go. And again, that's just, every political party has had strengths with the church. It has its very weaknesses with the church. So you can't point fingers, but again, of course, more than half the priests, conservative scale since 2010. Again, 85% younger priests, conservative or so, 14% describe themselves in the middle of the road. I mean, nearly 70% of priests ordained in the mid to late 60s describe themselves as somewhat very progressive. Of course, again, 5% again, maybe a little bit different numbers, but again, you get the idea. It's very high, it's very conservative now, and very low is very progressive. So, the Catholic Project finds regarding priests confident with other surveys of U.S. priests in recent years, one of which in 2021 actually noted an increasing perception of more conservative priests, young priests, comparing the older counterparts. Two priests with ties to the seminaries who spoke to the Catholic News Agency said the survey's results fit with their own experience regarding the ideology of young men currently entering and graduating the seminary. Which, again, that's what I just said. It's kind of like they do know what's going on in the world before seminary, if not after the seminary. Which, again, I feel like a lot of people are missing. They're not in today's world, in my opinion here, but it's like they don't know what's happening, and that's very dangerous when it's election time. Father Carter Griffin, rector of St. John Paul II Seminary in Washington, D.C., said most of the young men coming to his seminary are looking to be a part of the solution. They want to make themselves available for the needs in the church. He also cautioned that young men describing themselves as Orthodox do not necessarily have a preference to traditionalist practices. But he said, young men entering the seminary today are looking to become part of something bigger than themselves. Again, it's not in it for me, myself, and I, and it's in it for the church. And that's for, priests will not be ordained priests in the church, but priests in the church, and we're all called to give our lives to Jesus. It's just, again, it's, at least all of us who are not all the clergy, congregation, it's more the temptation of being me, myself, and I, instead of, giving it off to God every single day, right? I've been there too often. Nobody wants to give their life for a question mark. I think the ones who are going to come forward, who are open to the idea of entering the priesthood, are going to be the ones who are most intent on showing that they are Catholic and they are on board with everything. The men coming forward for the priesthood now are men who really love the Lord and love the church. They believe in Lord. They believe that He founded Lord. And so there is not an instinct at all to believe anything other than what the church believes, to teach what the church believes. So again, having that great priest who speaks out on what the church believes, that's what the apostles did after the dissection. They got martyred, they, got really rebuked by the world, but again, the problem is the world doesn't know Jesus, and it's our job to bring it out there to them. He continues to say, I think many of them are reacting to the reckoning of secular martyrdom, and many of them have seen the effect of that martyrdom, that skepticism, on their peers. They've seen people trapped in sin, and they want to make a difference in the world. They want to be people who are helping to bring light and joy and hope back into the world, and it seems to have lost them. Father Boyce Sibley, a priest of Diocese of Lafayette, Louisiana, told, again, Catholic News Agency, he has seen a similar phenomenon among the seminarians, saying that he has observed a desire for solitude and for clarity in a world where things seem to be so fluid, so chaotic, and so uncertain. Father Sibley said that most of the young men are already on the conservative side when entering the seminary, with many having been formed by conservative online Catholic personalities. He said in his experience that there is nobody currently studying in his seminary who would describe himself as progressive. Sibley was ordained in 2000 and said that a large majority of his peers were inspired to enter the seminary, and at least in part by example of St. John Paul II. He said in his opinion many older priests were educated in a time that there was such an emphasis on the pastoral that the intellectual and orthodox perspectives were just kind of dismissed. Today, he said a lack of orthodoxy with seminary settings is less he said a lack of orthodoxy within seminary settings is less of an issue now than in the past. And again, for one final time, people think conservative, cold-blooded Republicans, blah, 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 again, first of all, if you're feeling that way about it, that's not loving your neighbor as yourself, that's not, thinking of them as an enemy, you might not pray for them, again, I'm not on the side that you gotta pray for other people, and again, it's not about you, okay? Again, that's Protestantism. That's basically every other kind of religion and non-religion out there is about you. The Catholic Church is about Jesus Christ, the way He founded it. Okay? It's for Him. Protestantism, to me, in my opinion again, but it's also true, if they have churches of what they want to teach and what they want to believe. If I thought the Catholic Church was a true, I could make the show into a church and have all you as my followers, and you'd be like, oh, Billy knows he's talking about, man, he's such a great pastor, blah, blah. Again, that's not how it works, okay? Again, that's not about your idea and the Catholic Church, it's about what the church thinks. And again, that's how you should vote, that's how you should view the world, and everything else. If it's you and yourself and I, you kind of need to do some cleanup there. Which again, it happens to all of us. It's just a lot of people are kind of set in the ways a lot, especially like I said, maybe the older you are, or the younger you are, or it happens in all ages though. So again, just kind of finishing up the article here. And again, I'll have these links down in the description for you to see. Today's seminary, for the list of practices are great. A lot of the problems that exist in the past have been cleared up. Really, every seminary that I know of has a vibrant Orthodox facility who really care about forming good priests. At the same time, Father Sibley said he seeks in his teachings to emphasize the importance of not only forming the men internationally, but also giving them the tools to make them effective communicators and pastors to the Catholics they serve, or they will serve. We need priests who are going to be able not to just know their theology, but to be able to preach it as well. We are also going to be able to manage a parish and to be able to guide a flock, he said. Griffin, who has served as rector for the past 5 years, said he thinks the shortage of young Catholic priests describing themselves as Orthodox have enduring in part by young men seeing the example of newly ordained priests in their dioceses and parishes as, kind of role models, kind of like, oh, man, he's on fire. Many of whom are not much older than they are. I think of what we need to be helping these young men do is to come to a deep, mature love for the church as she is, Father Griffin said. That's not always going to be how we wish she were, like Boston's think, or like we often think at times, or that every decision made by a bishop or by a pope is what we wanted to be. Whether it's Pope Francis, whether that's your local bishop, like, man, he's not really on with the faith, or he's not really, man, he's just terrible. I think we should get rid of him. I don't feel like I should even pray up to him or for him because he's just so bad. How did that happen? But it's still the church, and if we believe that, we believe that out of the way. So again, and if we believe that, we have to believe that out of the way. So again, that's not the full article, but again, lots of overlap in this one too. So again, the description, the links are down below in the description box. You can all read them fully for yourself. But again, this is kind of big news. But again, it's like if the young Catholic priests are really on fire for the faith, they're able to lead a parish, because I've heard so many priests say, I'm not ready to lead a parish, I don't want to lead a parish, I can't. Well, there's a priest shortage, and so we need them to. So again, being able to lead a parish, being able to defend the faith, the true faith, not just kind of, this is what the faith, and this is kind of my idea, I like my idea, and this and that. And I just stand from the pulpit and defend the faith. Again, we might like it, we might not like it. I might feel consoled, I might feel convicted. The other thing is, it's the church's teaching, and it's one true church, and with these young Catholic priests coming in to help defend her and be outstanding priests, I think at least help me able to say this, it seems like, with all the other news about the church in recent years, but I think the Catholic Church's future is good in terms of defending her in the coming years with these new Catholic priests. And of course, I always pray for the church, pray for these young Catholic priests, anyone who's considering priesthood, all the priests that we have right now, because they need our prayers, and just pray them for actually the Catholic priesthood as well. So, but that is it for today. I have had you long enough, so anyway, if you found this show interesting or entertaining, again, leave your comments in the feedback section. Also, share this with a friend and family member. I'm sure they'll love to hear it. And again, thank you so much as we round up the year as of right now, 2023, wherever you might be listening to this. But again, I wanted to do this show for a while now, and finally so happy I got to do it. And hopefully, again, got a couple personal opinions, but again, I'm trying to be around the Catholic. So again, let me know what you think. And until next time, stay in safe grace, go to sacraments, and we'll see you next time on the Catholic Table Talk podcast, where the podcast of everything Catholic is on the table. And here to take you home is Bruce Snyder.
Thank you for listening to this week's episode of the Catholic Table Talk podcast, where everything Catholic is on the table. Don't forget to subscribe to Catholic Table Talk on your favorite podcast platform to get new episodes delivered directly to you every Thursday at 9 a.m. Eastern.